Hello, my name is Isaiah Dunn, and welcome to my English 2003 and 04 presentation of video games good or bad. So, I'm currently a junior at now, studying at the University of Tulsa. My major is computer science with the focus of game design. The format I will be using is MLA. The reason why I like using MLA is because I've been studying MLA for years and I feel like I am confident of using MLA to the best ability and I just like using MLA. And interest is I love playing video games and that's a hobby of mine I enjoy doing. So the outline is research question, the terminology, research of human behaviors, research of mental health, conversation, and reference questions. So the research question part 1. Do violent video games cause aggressive behavior? The reason why I wanted to use this question as my research is because in today's society, a lot of mainstream media like to have negative impact on video games. They like to say video games cause aggressive and violent behavior, and it's a waste of time. And people who play video games are bad. Video games are bad for you. When everything that they are claiming is just not true. And within today's society, video games have a huge impact with children today because children are playing more violent video games at a younger age than usual, and we need to determine if kids or children, when they play violent video games, if that has any sign of any unnatural violent behavior when growing up into a young adult. And I want you guys to think about what do you guys think if violent video games if they cause aggressive behavior or not. For me, I believe that violent video games are not the main cause of violent and aggressive behavior. I feel like there may have some small impacts that violent video games may help with causing aggressive behavior, but I don't think it's never the main impact. And I believe like if you're naturally a violent person, you will naturally be like that no matter if you play violent video games or not. The next question would be, do video games cause any positive behavior? If yes, how so and what games? So the reason why I use this question as my research as well is because not too many people know that video games actually have a positive impact within society. So some positive impacts include that people feel stress-free and also just enjoy playing video games to let self-esteem to go out. And a huge discovery I found out when researching if there's any positive behavior video games, that video games have been proven to be able to be used as for mental health, and people have used video games for mental disorders, and that's when serious games comes in. Serious games help amplify mental disorders to use as treatment, and this has been very interesting to look at and research about. So the terminology you would need to know is what video games are. Video games are electronic game that is being played by players and that is usually used for enjoyment and entertainment. And then there are serious games that is used for the quite opposite of that. Serious games is used for education purposes and has no entertainment purpose at all, and it's used for research and help implement with people with mental disorders. And also know the different types of human behaviors that are caused throughout video games when they are implemented into humans, and the different types of mental disorders there are in the world. So when researching about human behaviors, I wanted to go and find a graph to see if there is how I could compare between the difference of when somebody who plays violent video games and versus not. And I chose to choose the audience of child because those are the future and those are the ones that can be heavily impacted with violent video games versus not. So if you look on the right side, I have a graph that has a category between males and females, and if they play violent video games or if they not play violent video games. So these categories are separated by three topics of nonviolent defiant behaviors, violent defiant behaviors, and substance use of like drugs and alcohol. So when we look at the first section, we could see of the nonviolent, we see that both male and female violent video game players have a slightly more impact of causing defiant behaviors, but the impact seems to be a little too low to have a true major impact to have a full disclosure if video games cause negative behavior. And then secondly, when we see the violent, it's the same result, but it's just too small to see if we have any true violent, if there's any true meaning that violent video games cause violent behavior. And the last one is actually very interesting because because you see that non-violent video games, actually, people who play non-violent are more likely to use substances than people who play violent video games on the male side. So that's just something that just popped out to be super interesting to me. And all the negative behaviors put away, some of the positive human behaviors that video games do include is positive emotion, just being able to relax when playing video games and to enjoy yourself and be able to relieve some self-esteem that you may have had from earlier in the day. And it's shown that people who play video games have who are more engaged into the things that they love doing. And also, people who play video games really enjoy accomplishments of self-status that they like to do. And I know that I'm very into self-accomplishments and trying to do the best I can. And so I also was able to do some research of mental health, do connection of mental health and video games. So I saw that there was the development of serious games that has been that started development a decade ago, and serious games have been implemented with patients who have different mental disorders or mental health problems. And in this graph I have on the right side, you can see the purposes of each serious games that is being used. Like on the first one, there's a serious game genre of cognition and brain training, and the purpose of that is for physical and emotional cognition skills. And doctors are using these serious games to help treat with their different disorders. And some disorders that are currently being treated with serious games are depression, autism, and schizophrenia, and even more, such as cancer. And for conversation of why we should research about video games is because video games, we do not know enough about video games and have not put that enough resources into video games. And in today's society, we have already gave video games a bad rep when really video games can help improve on with human behavior. As you see that video games have also been used as a treatment to mental disorder. So if we put a little bit more research into video games, you never know what can happen. And why should we care? Is because video games are becoming more and more popular every year. And with video games becoming more popular, people at a young age are being exposed to video games. So being able to help and treat help and determine whether video games are violent, especially violent video games, cause a negative impact with children and in today's society, will help us judge whether if we need to have some type of restrictions or not, or whether if it's okay for children to be playing violent video games at a young age. And the future of developing serious games is that, as you saw, that serious games are right now are a huge treatment of allowing mental disorders to help have some type of society or game that they're able to play to help with their disorder. And I feel like if we were able to put more, the huge problem right now with serious games is that there's not enough serious games implemented for people with mental disorders. So I feel like if we can put more research into developing serious games, we'll be able to create even more different types of treatments for people with those who have different mental disorders. And I feel like that can help give video games a huge positive rep in how it could help society. And lastly, that that is the end of my presentation. I hope you guys really enjoyed it, and let me know if you guys have any questions. But really do think to yourself if video games are actually really bad for you, because right now they seem to be able to help people in a long life, and you never know, video games could be able to help people with mental disorders, even more disorders. Thank you for listening.